Okay, so I was not surprised that we have issues around people in the different working in teams in the other section. I think if we have this section, this group number 4 as the group for people who are working with teams in the other section, that's okay. I think this will work out. I'm okay with it. I'm not surprised that, something like this would come up. So that's the way it goes. Uh, let's see. So I hope everybody had a good weekend. And I read through your team contracts and they all look good. I can tell you guys thought about it. You met, you discussed it, you got assigned roles. Everything looks good. And so that's where we wanted to go. And that's important because we have your project charter, which is now due on the, what do we do, the 25th? Project charter, I think, is now due on the 25th. Let me just check real quick so I get it right. Yeah, no, let's see, project charter, yeah, 25th. Okay. And so that's all good. And then next week, we're not going to do much in terms of lectures by me. Uh, what we're going to do is we're going to have the each team. Oh, 9:26 the new time zone. Okay, yeah, I get it. I get it. All right, let me get it right then. Time zones. Oh boy. It's that weekend where we go from daylight savings time. Uh, both countries do it about a week apart. That's where we're going to run into problems because I'm not going to see it coming, and you guys aren't going to think of class when you think about is it sleeping in? I think it's sleeping in the fall, and so yeah, that's going to be a problem. But we'll figure it out. It'll all work out. But if when that happens, if I happen to be an hour late for class, it's because we do it on a different weekend than you guys do. But anyhow, so gate review is next week, and so far, discussions, discussion. Yeah. So far, nobody has signed up for a time to present their initial gate review. Okay, so be sure to sign up. If you want to go on Monday, that's great. If you want to go on Wednesday, that's great too. But you got to sign up sometime. So don't forget to do that. Um, uh, um, Project managers, you might be take that on as part of your job, doing the signups for these kind of things, or whatever your team wants to do, however you want to handle that, that's up to you. But somebody's got to do it. And that's it for that. And let's see. So here's our gate reviews, and shouldn't be a big shouldn't be a big problem about what goes into those. But here's our gate review number 1. This is right out of the assignment. Yeah, I think I fixed one typo. But gate review 1 is just to get us all started. Who's on your team? What are the roles that people on the team are gonna play? What's the nature of your project? What is it that you want to work on? What are you going to do? What's the scope of your project? What things are you going to go to the discussion section, Harris, and and just post a discussion uh, in one of the things, just saying we want to go this date. Probably, since there's nothing there. So yeah, threads and all that kind of stuff is pretty weird in the discussions. But anyhow, so Yeah, so describe what the scope of your project is. What are you going to do? What are you not going to do? Do any companies do something similar to what you're proposing to do? If they do, tell us a little bit about about what they do and how they organize it, and maybe even something about how you plan on making yours different. This is really for you to figure out, but these are, some of the ideas about things that you might want to present. What's the hard part of your project going to be? That's a really good thing because it forces you to think about, what is going to be really hard for us and what part is going to be pretty easy. There's usually easy parts and hard parts. Well, you should figure out what the hard parts are so that you can allocate more resources to it. What are the risks that you've identified around your project? One of the risks is that you're not going to have enough time. Another is if it needs to be cloud-based, you're going to run out of money. So what are the risks around this project that you're going to be working on? And then a general overview of the architecture you envision using for your project. And this is just a first shot. You can change your mind later on all of this stuff, but you have to present this just so that we can show that you're actually thinking about these things. Any questions about gate review number one? Okay, so don't forget to sign up and be ready because I'm going to ask you to share your desktop and present to the class what you're talking about doing. We've got what 6 groups in this class. So if we have 3 groups in each of the 2 days, that'd be great. I would love that. And what else? What else we get to? Let's see. Other project ideas. Um, does everybody have a general idea of a project at this point, or are you still looking?
We're still looking, Professor.
You're still thinking about other ideas?
Yeah, it's just that there's so many ideas that we don't really know what to choose. Since it's our like 1 year project, we really want to work in something that we really want to do. So it's kind of hard to decide.
Yeah, I agree. And I tried to bring this up last time and say that the hardest part is figuring out what you want to work on because there's so many ideas up in the sky and you need to choose one. And that is a hard thing to do. So, yeah, and think about what you think is important. What are the issues in your life that you think is important? Are you a fashion person, in which case maybe an e-commerce site would be cool? Are you interested in Kosovar culture? In which case you may want to do like a museum kind of an application. Or if you're interested in sports, you could do some sort of a ranking system of players that a World Cup team scout might be interested in using. Who's going to present the gate review? Um, so good question, Harris. Who's going to present the gate review number one? Well, I think you can, if you want to, have the project manager do it all. On the other hand, the project manager is probably not going to be an expert in all of the subjects that we've got in gate review number one. So if the project manager wants to call on somebody else in the group, that's great. No problem whatsoever. And so you can, have different people talk. You can have, PowerPoint slides that you put together before. You can do all kinds of stuff. Remember, a lot of this is coming right off your project charter. So, some of the stuff is not new at all. and it'll be a cut and paste from your project charter into the gate review presentation. But it doesn't have to be just the project manager, it doesn't have to be just group members. It could be whatever you think is the most appropriate. Now, if you want to be in the same location when you do this, that might make it a lot easier, so if you can just have somebody walk out of the camera view and somebody else walk in, that's easy. Switching, different locations and stuff, that always takes a little bit of time. So, it's up to you, but you want to do as professional a job at this as you can. And so think about ways to make it easier. It's easy to make things hard. Sometimes it's hard to make them easy. Making them easy in this case would be, being on campus or whatever, or, at somebody's house or whatever, and then just trading off during the presentation time. Okay. Good question. Anything else about the gate review? What do you turn in? Well, you'll turn in your PowerPoints or whatever, kind of document that you have. Doesn't really matter what the document is that you turn in. I'm going to give you a grade right away on the gate review presentation. And then it's just, I need a placeholder in my courses for me to stick a grade on something. So that's pretty straightforward. Also, what is meant by roles here? Does that mean we have to specify technical role or high level role? Well, it could be either one. You're probably going to need somebody who's a database person, somebody who's a front end person, somebody who's if you want to use that role. But on the other hand, you're going to have a project manager, and that's not really a technical role. So it's whatever roles make sense for your project. And this is about, gate review number 1 is about showing how you've thought about your project and assigning roles and thinking about what roles you'll need. Well, that's just part of thinking about your project. You guys know, a lot about technology, and you should be able to, think about your idea and say, we're going to need to, it's going to be really important that the UX works really well here. And so maybe we should assign somebody to that role. On the other hand, the database is not going to be a big deal for this project. So, maybe we won't even have a database person. So it's up to you how you want to organize this. This is your first shot at showing the organization of your project and what you've thought about. Good. All right. How exciting, huh? That's great. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So let's see. Another project idea. I love the parking lot one with the IoT devices implanted in the pavement to see if parking spots are open or taken. Let's see. Could you extend that out onto the main road in front of the campus? That would be pretty cool. Another way to do the parking lot issue about, whether a parking spot is taken or not is a sensor up on top of the light poles. And, those light poles get a good view down below them. And they also have power, which is really nice too. So if you wanted to design a system that would keep track of parking spaces around the campus, I think that would be just totally cool. Let's see, what other good projects are out there? Uh, I love uh, uh, the car application. Um, that was cool. That was the Porsche one. Uh, so that people could learn to be better race car drivers. Um, let's see. You could think about the other kinds of sensors, like IoT kind of stuff, and think about sensing air pollution around either around campus or around the city or whatever, and then uh, come up with an application that looks at what's the air pollution by neighborhood and maybe yeah and I know you guys burn a lot of firewood in the winter time and that's got to get a lot of smoke up into the air and so think about screening of the air for air pollution. That'd be kind of a cool thing and I'm sure there's lots of applications out there that do that sort of thing. Um, what else? Well, I love anything that uses the APIs from the big web companies out there because they're just waiting out there for you to use them. And you could we talked about the Google Tasks application. I love that one. Make a better task manager that uses the Google APIs to publish tasks to individuals' calendars and things. Um, and you could make your own better version of project management tool too. That would be fine. Uh, what else? Well, Google Maps has some interesting features in it that you might be able to use to look at things like potholes. And I know potholes are bad in every place. We get them really bad over here too. Or road construction or something like that. And right now Google Maps looks at the people's progress through areas to get a better feel for how bad traffic is. And so, any kind of a traffic prediction, something similar to Waze, sure. Any kind of traffic prediction application or something, or maybe you would develop an application that use Google Maps to say, people could say, I need to go to this part of the city. What time of day should I go? And it would look at historical information to come up with the least busy time of day and day of the week for the stretch of roads that you need to drive down. That'd be kind of cool. Um, let's see. The cafeteria that you guys have, the cafe, uh, they yell out whoever ordered something when their order is up. Could there be a better way for them to notify people that their food was ready? Um, uh, that would be kind of interesting. And it would turn into an e-commerce app where people could either use a kiosk or let's see and place orders and then get a notification when their order's ready. What about something where we can get municipality documents online? Because that doesn't exist still. Yeah, I mean, that's a database application, and I love that, and it would be a real useful thing to do. Um, it would be a big deal. It would have a lot of privacy concerns around it, would be my guess, unless you just did publicly available documents or, created an application where the municipal council or whatever your rulemaking body is, could publish the documents that they talk about in their meetings and make them available for everybody to see. Love it. Because then what you'd be looking for would, the search capabilities would be a big deal in both those kind of applications. Either looking at documents that the council is reviewing or the documents related to real estate transactions or anything else. Uh, the search would be a big deal in all of that. And defining levels of privacy for different documents. That would be a big part of that too. Who determines that? What's the what levels of documents are you going to have in terms of privacy? Love them. All good. All good. So let me know, guys, if you're running out of time or ideas or whatever, and I'm happy to help any way I can. Okay. So, so what you guys are really building in this class all semester, all year long is let me press something about e-health, like personal portfolio, about my health when I go to the doctor, which is better. Yes, and you'd have to figure out what the privacy laws are in Kosovo. I would know that. Um, but
Professor,
yeah.
so we discussed with the group about these two ideas that I mentioned in the chat. I just wanted to get your opinion, which one you think would be better. The e-health one is like basically a personal health portfolio, like a personal app, like e-Kosovo. That's the app what we use for our personal documents to make it for the health version. So when we go to the doctor, he has all of our prescriptions, medications we take, allergies. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a good idea. I think, there's examples for you to look at, and that makes life easier. Um, and so the research side of this, figuring out what other applications are out there that do something similar is going to be a key component. And that's good because that helps you out and makes it a lot faster for you to, look at what's out there and say, it doesn't do this right, or we could do this better, or, whatever. Um, let's see. Yeah, I think it could work. I think it's a big project. But I definitely think it could work.
So what we thought was basically I have my own. Let's say I go to the doctor. I have my own portfolio with my ID and my name on it, with my
Yeah.
personal number ID, which is issued to every person in Kosovo. And I can, with my ID and my name, he can search for me, and it will pop up. Like the doctor would be an ad user. The user will see my all of the things that write about my health. I would be the admin, or the doctor can also input things. Just the roles part, we're a little bit still skeptic, but we thought about these two ideas. So we just wanted to know to pick in between the municipality documents and the e-health portfolio. Which one do you think would be better and would be more efficient?
Well, here's the thing. So I think that it would be easier to figure out what the requirements were for an e-health application. Uh, be, but on the other hand, scope would be a really important part of this. So, and how much of this are you going to get done? and what are the file formats that you're going to support in there? If you wanted to have uh, um, if you wanted to have videos in there where the doctor used did surgery or something like that, most of the time surgery is videotaped so that they can keep track of what's going on. Would that be part of it, or is this something that would only cover documents that would be useful for the individual to have instead of useful for the doctor's long-term records or something? So scope would be important in both of these, and and so in terms of the municipal documents one, you might want to use the scope to say that we're going to only deal with this type of documents. We're not going to, the municipality has all kinds of documents. And for you to figure out how all those different documents work would be a lot of work. It would be a career. And so you'd have to define the scope as to what kind of documents that you were keeping track of. But I think they're both useful projects. I think you could do both of them, but focus in the scope on what you want to deal with. Is it the results? You could say for the health one, you could say that you wanted to only keep track of the results from annual physical examinations. That would cut out lots of other things, but it would focus in on stuff that you guys know more about. You know about allergies, you know about medications, there's lots of different applications out there where you could find how other people do this. So scope matters. That's my real thought on both of these. Scope matters.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. But we just, I mean, these are still initial ideas. We still haven't done research in them. We just wanted to know if one of these ideas would fulfill the criteria that you required.
Love them both. Absolutely useful, interesting. Scope matters.
Thank you, Professor.
No problem. Good ideas. Good ideas. I'm glad you guys are thinking, and just because you haven't uh, 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 cast it in stone yet doesn't mean anything. So it's all good. So what you guys are building is really this, a minimum viable product. There's no way that you're going to have time to create an industry product that could be sold in the marketplace. Usually what happens with venture capitalists is that somebody comes up with a neat idea. They go to a venture capitalist and say, we only need X number of millions of dollars to build this thing. The venture capitalist says, yes, but don't tell me you're going to build the whole thing for that small number of millions. You're going to build a minimum viable product, and then we're going to see if we want to continue investing in that to make it better, 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 better. That's the iterative development process that we use in Agile these days. But it all starts with this minimum viable product. And the reason why this is so useful is that for a lot of companies, the way they develop new ideas is to think about this idea of minimum viable product. What can we get into the marketplace to see if customers like it enough to justify us continuing to invest in it? And so this, MVP allows organizations to test a business concept. Is it something that people really want to use? Is there actually the market out there that you expected there to be? Gather valuable customer insights. You kind of have some ideas about what people would want from their municipal documents application. But there'd be nothing like putting it out there for customers to look at to find out what real customers think about your municipal documents application. Which ones do they think are most important? Maybe you think it's marriages, where they want to register marriages and stuff, but it turns out that people are much more interested in divorces to find out who's actually available for the next marriage, or something goofy like that that just you hadn't thought of. And so putting a minimum viable product out there in the marketplace allows you to see that in real time and see what real users want to do. And of course, that last line is the most important. We've got a minimal investment in this product, knowing that we might just pull the plug and say, the market's not there. We don't think the market's there. Boy, aren't you glad we didn't spend millions and millions of dollars developing a final, complete, beautiful application. Aren't you glad we just put it out there as minimum viable product? People use and found out nobody cares. And that's a real concern. So what you guys are building is this minimum viable product. Now, this is not something that nobody's ever thought about. This is a big deal. This is how companies do this. And so they put together these key principles around minimum viable product development. So the minimum part means the product includes only the most essential features to prove a concept. Well, I asked you as part of your project charter, what was going to be the hard part? That comes in here. This is where that idea comes from. Can we deploy this application in a minimal format without addressing the hard part? Probably not. We've got to at least address it in some first try kind of way to see if it really is impossible to do or if it's something that we can really handle. Viable, the product's functional and provides genuine value to its users, demonstrating the potential of the product idea. That's a really important component of all of this. Is it really something that people can see? And then a tangible product that you can put into the hands of actual users. That's the key component of all of this. How do we get something out there for our users to try, put their hands on, try it, see how it works, see if it really is, answers a need without spending tons of money on it. That's kind of where we're headed on all this stuff. Thought I'd go to the full screen here. What do you think? So how do you go about doing this? Well, this is really what we're doing this semester. We're getting ready to develop a minimum viable product. And this can be our process to think about what we need to do. Define the target market and problem. That's your project charter right there. Who do you think is going to use this thing? What's the issue that you're attacking? Prioritizing features. Which features belong in the MVP and which are ones that can wait for later iterations? That's what prioritizing features are. What's the hard part? That's got to be one of the prioritized features that we're going to develop on our way to releasing this out to the user community. Map the user journey. How do the users interact with this thing? We might want to have extra monitoring capabilities built into this MVP so we can see how users progress through different parts of the MVP. What are the parts that they have trouble with? I bought some things yesterday and it said on them, $5 rebate. And I said, oh, great. Yeah, give it a try. Most of the time I don't bother with those things, but give it a try. And I went home and used their app and stuff. Didn't work. So they were able to advertise this $5 rebate, but their application was such that, I couldn't figure out how to make it work to get my $5. I've already bought the thing that they, had the rebate on. I'm stuck. Oh, well, that's the way it goes. Turns out it was a good price anyhow, so I'm not too mad, but this is one of my favorite vendors, so, that's the way it goes. But, what's the user's journey through your application? Where do they start? What do they have trouble with? What parts don't they go to at all? Because maybe they don't think it's important. You thought it was important, users didn't. Developing the MVP, building it out. There's special companies that just do MVP development because they're good at hacking something together in a quick format that's not designed to scale. It's not designed to get big. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles on it, but they can put together a quick version of an application inexpensively, and that will see if there's an actual market for this place. Then launch and collect feedback. You may want to have extra surveys built into your deployment architecture so that when somebody creates a new account or something like that, you might send them a survey. Did the account creation process work right? Did you use your Google account to log in, or your Facebook account, or whatever? How important is access to using your Google account to create an account with us? How important is that to you? All those kind of questions are really important. And then what you're going to do about this is you're going to take that feedback, analyze it, and then go through another iteration, build another version of your product to see if it's any better. So, how do we organize this? Well, the bare bones are right over here. Have an idea, build your product, measure the results, improve your product, and keep on going, and just keep going around and around and around the horn. And each time, hopefully you're improving your product and making it better for your customers. And what makes a good product? Well, it's got to function well. That's really important. If things don't work right, then having a great design doesn't mean much. It's the application's got to work, and that rebate application does not work. And so that was kind of silly. Is your product reliable? If your users think that their information should be stored on your site, is it really stored? Can they, bring it back again and look at what they bought last time, for instance? And then usable. Is it easy to figure out how to use your application? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. And building intuitive applications that people just look at and say, oh, I can figure this out. That's a real talent. And that's not something that should be taken lightly. And then your great design. What does it look like? What's the feel like? How does it work in comparison to other applications? Did you use the standards for application interaction that everybody else uses, which just makes it easier for users to do common tasks? So, those are all important components to this. Okay. Most important parts. And this is something we're just talking about with the municipal documents, the healthcare, all that stuff. Preparation and design is 80% of the work for any MVP. Most developers want to think about, let's just jump into the coding. And if my code's good, the application's going to be good. But that's not the way it really works. You have to understand the industry that you're developing an application for before you start to build the application, or you're just going to spend a lot of time, spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere. And so preparation, design, understanding the industry, talking to users to find out, potential users to find out what their thoughts are about the problem that you defined. All those things are really important. Now, for you guys, for this project, you might want to think about finding users who are close to home. Like if you're developing something that your buddies might want to use, you can just talk to your buddies and say, hey, mind if I show you something? And they'll look at it and then, crack some jokes or something like that. But you can say, no, tell me what your feedback is. What do you really think about this? Can you enter a couple of records for me? Could you, what does your doctor talk to you about when you're at your annual physical that you would want encoded in this application? What are the things that you forget once you've been to your doctor and the doctors ask you to, change your lifestyle somehow or another? What is it that you usually forget to do and don't remember until the next time you're going to for a checkup? Do you guys actually go to checkups, or is that something that uh, old people, only old people do? A lot of young people believe themselves to be immortal. Not true, but that's what their belief is. And so they don't even bother with health insurance. And they especially don't bother with annual visits to have a checkup. So, asking people, talking to them about how they would use this product is really good. Let's see, gathering requirements, single element, which will make the difference between building something completely useless and something the client actually needs. So, just relying on your own understanding of the problem is probably not enough. You might want to talk to people to see what their understanding of the problem is. Application design. What does all of that stuff mean? Well, design's a big word and very abstract. It can mean lots of different things. In the world of software, it can mean all kinds of different stuff. But if you kind of simplify it by saying design is how the app will work. There are two main ideas there. One is the use cases of the application, and the other is the database design, which is a normal thing for any kind of an application. What's the user going to interact with? What's that going to look like? What are the questions? What are the data fields? What are all those things embodied in that UX going to be like? And then what's the database in the back end going to look like? Remember, if you don't have a field for something, you can't collect it. So, database design is hard and involves lots of trying to figure out what's going on and how will our users use this application and all those kind of things before you actually build it. So, that's a hard thing to do well. In use cases, we're going to look at more as we get going here, but use cases gets you and your client on the same page about what's needed in the application. What does this application really need to do? Database design is all about scalability. How scalable your application will be. How scalable does it need to be? Can it, what are the market projections for your application? If you're dealing with something to be used by the citizens of Pristina, well, that's a pretty defined unit, sort of. And so you could put some expected workload capacities on your application and then run tests against that application, see if it actually lives up to the workload that you define. How efficient is this application going to be in terms of performance? What should we write down as key stakeholders? Think about the people most involved with this. You're going to have, let's see, let me go back to healthcare app. In the healthcare app, you're going to have stakeholders who are people like the doctors. What do the doctors need to connect into this thing? Are there special, do you have to develop different versions of this application for different doctors' specialization? A general practitioner compared to what's a plastic surgery doctor. Can those two specializations in terms of doctors, can they live with the same application? Or is there something inherently different about being a plastic surgeon? Maybe, you need to have a lot more images so that you can do before and after. Or you might have to have images that you can write on, where you can draw stuff on there and say, this is where we're going to inject the Botox and, blah, blah, blah. But for a general practitioner, they don't really keep track of that stuff. Is that a problem? That would be something that would come up in your design here. So how efficient will your application be in terms of performance? Can you support the number of users that you're predicting based on the architecture that you have in mind? How important, efficient will it be in terms of cost? What's this going to cost to keep this going? Let's see. Okay, so general groups such as medical sector, consumer X, and user, or should we reference actual physical groups? I think, Nathan, for this first iteration of your project charter, you could be kind of general. But later on, you're probably going to want to dig in a little bit more. So, that question of, do plastic surgeons need a completely different interface than cardiac surgeons or general practitioners, ones that you just go to see for your local aches and pains and stuff? What are your thoughts about that? Those are all good questions. And they're important because it would cost more. If you had to have a special part of this for plastic surgeons, well, you better get a whole bunch of plastic surgeons that use it, because you're going to spend a bunch of money on this thing and to support them. And let's see. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop right here for today, because I want to give you guys a few minutes to talk amongst yourselves. And can you list me as a key stakeholder? Sure. I may end up playing that role for some of you if you can't find a stakeholder an actual stakeholder that you could talk to. I'm happy to. Oh, I hit the demographic. Uh-oh. You're making an application for old white bald guys? Uh, yeah. So, yeah. So I may end up playing that role for you guys too. Oh, gee, what demographic could this be if you fit it too? I know. great dancers. So anyhow, guys, have a quick gathering of your teams. See if there's anything that you need to do. You might want to, just touch base. I've been thinking about this application. What do you guys think? And well, I'll see you again on Wednesday. Okay. We're gonna talk about different architectures and stuff.
Bye, Professor. Bye, Professor. Have a nice day.
Same to you.
Good, bro. Have a good one. It was great.
I couldn't hear you, Artem. Same to you. Anybody else have any questions for me? All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.